Let's go.
What's father gotta do? What?
It's your boy Japanese Tutor, and we're going to do a Stonewall Dutch today. We're going to get right into it. Thank you again for everything that you guys do for me. You're amazing. All of you guys are amazing. I would like to thank your parents. All right, so we're going to go into game 23 of the Stonewall Dutch. And we're going to flip this board around, and we're going to see exactly what they have to say about it. D4. This game was played in the 17th World Championship Final, in which IB eventually, so Ivar Byrne, eventually won. So please realize that this is not the rusty over-the-board IM, but the GM armed to his teeth with opening literature. So this guy knows his stuff about the Dutch, and we're going to look at his stuff. So honestly, if you want to get better, watch this video, and at the end of this video, go ahead and search some Ivar Byrne's Stonewall Dutch games to get better. So he had some databases analysis, and he just did a lot for the opening. He actually contributed some theory as well. So D4, F5, G3, Knight F6, Bishop G2, E6, bam, Knight F3, D5, standard, castles, Bishop to D6, the normal stuff, C4, whenever they play C4, we play, you got it, you already know this, C6, Bishop F4, and this has been our main line for last episode and also this episode. We're going to take and take. Castles and E3, the main line. Thank you for the bits. Thank you so much. All right, so he says that Knight E4. And this is actually a postal game. So a postal game is probably the best chess you're ever going to see in this time, because people think for days on end about the position, and they have time to calculate a lot of moves. So it's the closest to cheating that you're ever going to get, because they were no real engines at the time. So Knight E4, and this is only Black's fourth most popular move, but quite likely slightly more accurate than the move Knight B-D7. Sometimes this transposes into the Knight B-D7 line, but let's see why he considers it more accurate. Black usually plays Queen to C7 or Bishop D7, and we know why they play Bishop D7. They want to go Bishop D7, and they want to go Bishop E8 and Bishop H5. Knight B-D7 is also good to come here and maybe bring this knight back. Okay, so Knight B-D2. This is the main line. After Knight E5, Knight D7 transposes into the same lines that we would go into. So I play Knight D7 and Rook C1. This is a natural developing move, but also a waiting move as it maintains tension between the knights. Queen E7. Okay, so now what is he going for? I like this move a lot because we don't have the dark square bishop anymore, so we need something to control the dark squares, and the queen does so effectively. This is usually the best square for the queen. It's particularly useful that it covers the B pawn when Black starts his C8, D7, this maneuver here. So there's a question here that they offer us. Why don't you exchange your knight at D2 while you have the chance, and then bring the second knight to E4? And the answer to that is, there is no reason to hurry. The knight on E4 is stronger than the knight on D2. So an exchange will almost certainly take place. Probably Black should prefer the exchange to happen on e4, but if it happens on d2, it would be nice if white's queen spends 2 moves getting there. Great. So knight captures e4. The first pair of knights is exchanged. And actually, this is a strategy for this setup. When they play bishop f4, bishop captures f4, g captures f4. This setup is you want to exchange all the knights for black. Put your king over to h8, put your rook on g8, and push the g5, or push the g pawn from g7 to g5. Take and open those lines up. Sometimes you even play queen h4 to really get an attack. Okay, and you play f captures e4. Why? Because we want this square sometimes for our pieces. Another interesting option is d captures e4, where the big question is how knight e5 would work out, but there's no reason to do that. F captures. Let's just do the f captures. With the text moves, the move that we just played, black vacates the f5 square and gains a temporary advantage in space. It is not particularly relevant here, but I've seen rooks and knights use this square right here, guys, in similar positions. Also, when the f pawn is gone, the light squared bishop is half developed. Okay, so this makes c captures d5 totally unattractive for white. Because if c captures d5, hello, and now this bishop will be fully developed. We haven't even moved it. They don't want to develop our pieces, so this is not even an option for them anymore. Or it is, but we're hoping for that. As a black player, as a second player, we're hoping that they capture, because now our bishop is going to be active, and guess what? We have a king side that's not really it's not really good for the king. So we're getting in there. So knight d2. So they thought that this was a novelty at the time, but there's better moves to be played. So they're going to play knight f6 and f3. f3 is very common. You just want to break. E captures f3. Knight captures f3, coming back. And this is actually far more natural than the bishop captures variation. So they give us a variation over here. Play happen bishop d7, king h1, bishop e8, rook g1, bishop g6, a3, and c5. Also, another alternative is bishop f5. And now you can see that this bishop is way better than this bishop. And this bishop was a Fianchetto's bishop, so usually it's supposed to be better. Okay. But knight captures f3 was the move. And bishop d7. Also, you can play b6 here, but I like the bishop d7. This is the old plan, and I like the old plan. There was nothing wrong with the old plan, so bishop d7, knight to e5, bishop e8. And the author, he says, I was oblivious to the fact that so far the game had followed analysis by Kramnik. Here, Kramnik concludes his analysis and says black plans to play knight d7 after swapping knights, move his bishop to g6, f5. If he manages this, then white will have to fight for equality. So this is Kramnik. I don't know if you guys know who Kramnik is, but Kramnik is one of the best players, or one of the best chess players that whoever lived. He was the top dog. Amazing player. And I'm going to take his word for it. Basically, you want to swap knights, because this knight is very strong. This bishop is very weak. You want to swipe his good piece for your okay piece, and then make this piece way better than that piece. And they're saying after you swap this, g6 and f5. Looks like a very, very nice plan. So let's see what they play. Queen b3. Ooh, queen b3 is nice because now it stops knight d7. Let's see what they have to say about this. This is one of the few moves that prevent Kramnik's recommended course. So also here, you can play either king h8 or bishop h5. The reason is king h8 is just the standard move set, right? You just want to play g5. You want to open up this line and attack the king. So bishop h5. After bishop h5, rook c2. I guess I want to double up over here. King h8. Bishop h3 saying, okay, look, I'm not good on this line. Right? So I need to play on this line, which is fine. Rook a to e8, protecting the pawn just in case the queen has to vacate. And then queen a3. Black's forces are compact and coordinated, and g5 doesn't seem far away. So white wants to exchange queens. Fair enough. Exchange queens. B captures a3, and then d captures c4. Wow. This knight looks really nice going here. Not only do we have this threat, it's just now the bishop has to spend one more tempo coming back. Let's see what he plays. Rook captures c4. Bishop to g6. Okay, so sorry. His note was, this initiates a small tactical sequence to eliminate white's dominant knight. Oh, sorry, and then he actually played knight captures c4. Bishop g6. Rook b2. Attacking this. And then bishop d3. Now attacking here. And here. Rook c1. White actually moves this rook 7 times in a row. That's kind of funny. Okay, so bishop captures. Rook captures c4. Rook e7. This is rook on the... Sorry, rook e7, rook c to b4. Rook f to f7. Rook a4. a6. Rook a5. He actually did move it a lot of times. And what do we have here? Okay, so what do we have here? I feel like my knight belongs here. And I'm sorry, again, I live in New York, and there's always outside noise. So what are we planning to play here? I think knight d5 looks good. b5 at some point, and then this rook is trapped if this is protected. Maybe a knight on c7. And looks kind of suspicious. This rook, maybe here's a breaking point, but I don't know. This rook just doesn't look like it's doing a job right now, but I guess it's controlling some vital squares. Okay, so let's see what the text says. Yeah, it says knight d5. All right, so knight d5. No, it's not a blunder. I invest a pawn in order to activate my rooks and completely break up white's pawn structure. Rook captures. And let me just make sure that I got the position correct. I see, okay. Yeah, I do. So rook captures a6. Rook captures a6, g5. Providing some air for the king, and if we know that it's Luft. Rook a8 check. King g7. F captures g5. Oh, I'm sorry, wait. They didn't play knight e4, they played knight d5, I'm sorry. So my move was maybe incorrect. Whoops. Okay. And let's go down this sequence. g5, a8, king g7, f captures, G5, knight captures E3. Rook F2. Knight F5. This is a very nice knight. Bishop captures, yeah, obviously. E captures. Rook F4. Rook E2. H4. H6. And they agree to a draw. So that was actually kind of interesting. I think one of the main points is that, okay, at some points when you have queenless middle games, this knight is going to be extremely strong. So one of the key points to take away here is that you want to exchange this knight for one of your pieces and then make this piece, whatever your remaining piece is, stronger than this bishop, because this bishop is always blocked off. And make sure you have sufficient cover over e6. So this is actually very, very interesting. I got you. Yeah. I'll check it right now. Wait, where is this position from? This is from Thomas Rupp versus Ivor Bourne in the Correspondence World Championship from 2002 to 2004. So I'll type that in for you guys on stream, and let me know if you guys have any questions about this game. No, not a problem. No problem, Tang. All right, and let's go. Let's go back into the next thing. Yo, Harlem Knight. It's kind of quiet over here in Chess TV chat, but all right. So there was another game over here that looks very interesting. This is in 1998. Correspondence Championship. This is in 2002, so before the internet. So yeah, people still do that, or used to do that. All right. And guys, make sure that if you're new to my channel, we're doing all educational stuff. So go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube. I would really appreciate that. And follow here on Twitch if you like it. Hey, Esbunan, how are you? All right, so let's go over the next line, or the next game. This is Mark Narciso. He is one of the guys also who made some theory in this, or contributed theory to the Dutch Stonewall and made it what it is today. And he was playing the black side of this. So c4, e6, knight f3, d5, d4, c6. It kind of looks like a triangle system. So c6, queen c2, f5, g3, knight f6. So we kind of forced him to play queen c2. Well, not forced him, but this is the line that he plays, and we play f5. It's kind of cool. And now it says after knight f6, we're in familiar terrain. Bishop g2, bishop d6, castles, bishop f4, takes. Doesn't this position happen anywhere else? This is a question that they give. So this is another move order. This is the queen move 7 queen c2 line. This is what it transposed to. Sorry about that, guys. So we've transposed from this queen c2 line to actually a different line. So it's kind of cool. So knight e4, and this is black's most popular development against white's early queen c2, as it shields the f pawn. Knight bd7 is fully playable. C captures d5, c captures d5. So they're saying, okay, c captures d5, c captures d5, or e captures d5. Sorry, queen captures f5, knight e4. And now the queen is kind of stuck over here. Even if you play like queen e6 check, I mean, what, king h8, and now we have the advantage. Look at this. Look at this beautiful pawn. I mean, what's not to love about this position? Knight b6. Hello. You know, queen e5, bishop f5, or rook f5. And I think we're dominating here. Even here, actually, this is kind of cute. You know, or even taking here. Can we trap the queen? Knight b6, knight c4. It's actually quite interesting. Let's say they play here. Oh, they can't even play there. Wait. What? This is what? What? No way. Really? They can't even take that pawn? That's so sick. We get an advantage if they take that pawn. That's awesome. So knight bd7, if takes, then you take with that, and if they take the pawn, it's actually a trap because we trap their queen on this side. No way. Queen h5, and then rook catches f. And this is kind of what we wanted anyways, like open files for our pieces. And we're gonna develop soon. Oh man, this is great position. Anyways, not the topic. I mean, not the opening that what happened, but okay. Knight e4. Did you guys see that? Thank you for following, everybody. Thank you for following. I really appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so knight e4, knight bd2, knight d7, and e3. It says okay, so they say, do you recognize this position? And I do. Yes, it's the position that would have arisen in our previous game if white had played the Kramnik's recommendation, queen c2, rather than rook c1. So instead of playing queen c2, they played rook c1 in our last game. But this kind of just transposes. Okay, and the queen actually prefers to be on this square, and so there are some games where you can play rook h8 and go with the same thing, and they score well. And they would often transpose knight e5. Don't play knight e5 right now because it's not good. That's what they're saying right now. And guess what they played? They were giving all these lines of variations of like what's good and what's not, but they say that knight e5 is actually not that good right here. So after queen e7, knight e5, give it kind of a dubious. This position should bring back fond memories where we have the exact same position except for the queen moves to c2 and e7. So this extra moves should favor black. So basically what they're saying is this should favor black because this queen is a little bit more active. Usually we have this position where the queens are back here. But now this should favor black because now we have these extra moves and we control more squares with the queen. So really nice. Knight e5. And how do we punish this knight e5? So we do knight captures e5. And they say that if f captures e5, you should play knight captures d2, queen captures d2, and then f4. And we've seen this attack before. If e captures f4, then I think just queen h5, right? Let me see. f4, oh, queen h4, sorry. E captures f4, and then, yeah, queen h4 with a very strong initiative. So d captures e5, knight captures d2. And they say death to all knights. And we want to trade off pieces, especially here now. This bishop is biting on rock. And we have some open lines over here. And we're probably just going to play here, and attack. So we've seen this stuff before. Queen captures d2. Bishop d7. Rook A to C1. Bishop E8. B4. A6. And here they played C captures D5. Now, what do you want to do? I like C captures D5. What does he play in the game? This is even worse than on the previous move. B4 leaves a C4 square open for Black's bishop. So they say that better is A4. So C captures D5. And now my bishop is going to go into C6. I think we've seen this idea before. Then Rook C5. Oh, Bishop B5. Yeah. Here, maybe even here. This is nice. Bishop B5. This active and natural move may be a fatal error. In the game's continuation, White will sorely miss a second rook to defend the G-file. So Bishop B5, and then Rook F's to C1. Bishop C4 here, and then bam, B5. Now, if they take with the bishop, we're just going to take back, and this rook won't have any defense, and maybe we can play on both sides, actually, which is kind of cool. And this is a pass pawn, while they still have to make a pass pawn. So B5, and I'll tell you what he says in the text. Now, it is not attractive for White to exchange bishops, as it would give Black a pass pawn on the C file. Okay, and they play A3 here. White can activate the rook further by playing Rook C6, King H8, and then Rook D6, but that shouldn't make much of a difference. They can play this, but it shouldn't make much of a difference of what we're going to play. So King H8, King H8, Bishop G2, not taking, Rook G8, King H1. White sensibly prepares his kingside defense. The only problem is that he is outnumbered. All of his pieces are over here. Now we're just going to attack. G5, F captures G5, Queen captures G5, threatening checkmate. F4, holding down the fort, and attacking the queen at the same time. Queen to H5. And they say it over here that taking with the rook objectively might be better, but it's not really of any importance. With a white rook stranded on C5, there will be no debate concerning who gets the G file. We're going to get the G file because their rook is on the C file and it's not doing anything. It's looking kind of suspicious, if you will. But okay, queen captures G5. So queen catches G5, F4, queen H5, rook G1. Okay, rook G4. This is getting very, very, very interesting. So after rook G4, queen F2. And they want to play bishop F1, eliminating any attackers. Rook A to G8. And what is this rook really doing? You know what I mean? What is that rook actually doing? I think it's doing nothing. H3. Rook G3. King H2. Queen H4. Queen D2. Oops, sorry. Queen D2. And here, unfortunately, there is a mate. All right, there's a mate, guys. So try to solve it by yourself. I'm going to give you a few seconds and try to see if you can see it. Honestly, I just peeked at the book and I messed it up for myself. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I'll give you another 10 seconds to try to solve it. If you're on YouTube, you can go ahead and pause the video and see if you find it by yourself. If you do, that's amazing. If you don't and you want to just enjoy the show, just wait. We'll be here. Death to the knights. sorry, Harlem Knight. Push A4, push A5 and get the free rook. Well, they can always play B4. And then if you take, then they have a pawn on B4, which is cool too, but why do anything on this side where the rook can't really do anything? You don't want to spend moves on the opposite side where all of your plans are on this side. That rook on c5 is doing nothing. It's worth a pawn. Actually, the position might be better if that were a pawn. Did anybody solve it? Have you guys on Chess TV solved it? Have you guys on Twitch solved it? What if he took our bishop before you can go to b5? Oh, if he took the bishop before, I don't think he can because our bishop was backed up. All right, this is hard. So the point, and this is actually really cool. Bishop f1. Look at that. Bishop f1. Okay. So this leads to forced mate. So rook captures f1. Rook captures h3. Check. Bishop captures h3. Queen check. Queen takes check. Protect. Take, mate. Beautiful. Let's say that the pieces don't take. Okay, let's say the bishop takes. Then rook captures g1. I'm threatening mate. Bishop g2. Queen e1. Let's say they take here. Checkmate. Right? It's just a deflection tactic. If what else do they have? A4. I mean, I don't see anything. Rook h1, and if here, then queen captures h4 mate. This is beautiful. Let's say they don't take at all. Let's say, well, what's the other move? King h1. Bishop captures g2 check. Rook captures g2. Queen captures h3. Threatening mate. King g1. Rook captures g2. If you play here, we have mate here. And if you take, then we have mate because the rook is holding down the queen. So that's an amazing thing. Hey, Face Chess. Yeah, definitely that's a wombo combo. So let's start from the beginning of that tactic. That's amazing. Like, such a beautiful move. Like, these are the moves that I like to see. Just because it's like, who would put a bishop on f1, right? Your own bishop. And just sacrificing that bishop just leads to mate. Is there another move that could be possible? Maybe rook 3 to g6. That says it's -11, but yeah, they have no response. So rook f1. Always repeat, and then yeah. You would. Marcus for the win. Nice. Nice. Queen c2? What do you mean queen c2? You want to play queen c2 instead? So you want to play queen c2 instead? Play queen d2. It doesn't matter what they play, actually, right? Like, this is really bad. Maybe give up a rook and just take here. So maybe here, take, and then just give this up. I mean, honestly, this is just winning. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can't do anything. Rook c2. You can't even bring the rook back. The rook's on c5, doing nothing. Okay. So here are the summaries. Black should meet bishop f4 with bishop captures f4. Okay, so always do that. If by so doing he inflicts doubled f pawns on white, normally the exchange of all the knights is to black's advantage, as his light squared bishop will usually be stronger than its white counterpart. Black usually develops his light squared bishop by means of the old-fashioned maneuver that d7 when the bishop is over here, d7, e8, and h5. Nothing's wrong with the old maneuver. It was great. G captures f4 leads to static pawn structure, where white can normally only make progress on the queen side. So make sure that you stop their queen side progress. Sometimes just a little a6, make them have to play 2 more moves instead of just giving it to them directly. F3 and e4 is usually not advisable, as it would turn the f4 pawn into a permanent weakness, and the e4 square is a strong outpost for black's knight. If white drives the knight all the way back to d6 and f7 by pushing the pawns to f3 and c5, this further reduces the flexibility in white's pawn structure. The knight is doing fine on f7, where it fights for e5, and may return to the action via h6 to f5 or g4. One more point. Normally, black should prepare the kingside lever g5 with moves like king h8 and rook g8. However, the actual execution of the move should often be delayed until white's pieces are engaged on the queen side. So only play g5. This is actually a super good point. Only play g5 once white is trying to occupy or attack on the queen side. Once their pieces are doing something on the queen side, they don't have time to come back and defend against g5. So that's a little target, a little key right here that we should always be looking for. Black should not fear a doubling of white's rooks on the g file. g7 is easily defended, and in case playing for g5 is usually not the wisest thing to do. Black should instead seek queenside activity with d capture c4, c5, or b5. Now, if they decide to double on the g file, if they put their rooks on this file, what you want to do is, instead of playing g5, you defend g7 and you start playing on the queen side instead. Very nice. You can do it with either c5, d capture c4, or b5. And it says, with this lesson, your Stonewall education is getting considerably closer to completion. If your results are not improving, try to give yourself a little time. The payoff for studying strategic lines where understanding takes front seat is often slower for those more tactical ones where fresh memory is often the best guide. Okay, so they're basically saying that if you're not winning with the Stonewall Dutch, give it some time. And the reason is that you're trying to understand the opening. Instead of, oh, this tactic works here, this tactic works there, you're trying to understand key concepts, and that's a little bit harder to come by. So give yourself some time. Okay, and with that, I conclude the lesson. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'll do that. And thank you for being here. You guys are amazing. If you learned anything from this lesson or any of my other lessons, consider subscribing. Helps me out on here, and like and share it to some of your friends. Take care.